All right, let's get back into it. Welcome back, everyone. We're picking up right where we left off with Emily Nagoski's Come As You Are.
And I am feeling so much more centered today. The salt bath last night really did the trick for my back. I'm ready to dive into some heavy lifting.
Heavy lifting? Is that a metaphor for the physics of sex? Or are we just getting into the dense stuff again? Because my brain is still trying to recover from that tower card I pulled yesterday. Total chaos.
Your life is always a tower card, Paco. Anyway, we're moving from the what of the biology to the how of the psyche. We're looking at this idea of software updates for the libido.
Exactly. We've spent the book learning the hardware, the brakes, the accelerators, the anatomy. Now, we're looking at the operating system, the part where you actually have to live with the facts.
So look at how she starts this section. She defines confidence and joy as two separate stages. She says, confidence is knowing what is true about your body, mind, sexuality, and life. Like knowing the anatomy, knowing the brakes.
But then she adds, knowing what's really true, even when it's not what you were taught should be true. That's the kicker.
Right? It's the difference between reading a manual and actually trusting the machine. And then she defines joy as, well, loving what is true.
That is a heavy distinction. Knowing is just data. Loving that's the actual work.
And she mentions a student in her class who said, joy is the hard part. And honestly, everyone in the workshops agrees.
Because it's easy to acknowledge a fact. It's much harder to not hate yourself for the way that fact manifests in your life.
She brings in this case study, Ms. B. She's in her mid-40s, and she says sex has become more about smoke and mirrors than thunder and lightning. She isn't initiating, and she isn't climaxing during intercourse.
Ouch. That's a bleak way to put it. Smoke and mirrors.
But look at what Nagoski does there. She immediately pulls us back to the thesis we've been talking about all episode. She says both of these put her squarely in the majority. She's saying, hey, you aren't broken. You're just typical.
But Ms. B doesn't feel typical. She feels broken, she says, and she wishes it were otherwise.
And that wishing is the problem. Nagoski asks a brilliant question here. Does that wish, that desire for a different reality, activate the accelerator or hit the brakes?
It's definitely the brakes. If you're wishing you were someone else, you're basically slamming on the emergency brake of your own identity.
And it's even worse. She says Ms. B describes herself, as sexually dead. That is such a visceral, terrifying phrase.
And here's the wait what moment. Nagoski says that even when you have acknowledged the confidence, it often falls short. She gives 3 ways it fails.
The first one is my favorite because it's so subtle. She mentions a reader who learned about responsive desire, but basically said, I think you're glossing over the fact that responsive desire is a lesser desire than spontaneous desire.
Lesser? That's a total value judgment. Like, oh, your engine starts, but it's a hybrid, so it doesn't count.
Exactly. And that thought, I shouldn't have to put all this effort in, is a massive break. It's the I'm inadequate loop.
And the second way? It's the external pressure. You can love your body in the mirror, but then some misogynistic asshat or even a partner or a doctor says you're wrong.
That's the integration concept we talked about earlier. If the external context is attacking your internal truth, the whole system collapses.
And the third way is the internal one. The internalized messages. The moral, the media, the medical.
It's like we've spent decades downloading malware that tells us we're diseased or damaged. Even if you know it's not true, that little part of you, cowering in a corner of your psyche, just can't be convinced by science alone.
Which brings us to the core of this chapter. You need joy too. You need to love what's true.
She talks about this little monitor in charge of frustration. If there's a gap between what you expect and what you experience, the monitor gets angry. And eventually it just shuts everything down. It pushes you into the pit of despair.
Man, I feel that. I've definitely been in that pit.
But she offers a way out. She calls it a reality check. You have to look at your goals, your effort, and your expectations.
She references other people from the book Lori, Olivia, Merritt, who used these checks to bridge the gap. They didn't change the goal. They changed the effort or the expectation.
Like Ms. B, she knows she can orgasm through clitoral stimulation. The knowledge is there. But she's still frustrated about the intercourse part. The knowledge is hitting the brakes because of the shame and the expectation.
So, the software update isn't just about new data. It's about updating the way we feel about the data.
Exactly. It's moving from, I know this is normal, to, I can love that this is normal.
Okay, so we're moving into the how-to of the software update. This is where it gets really interesting, because Nagoski starts talking about where these bugs actually come from. She says we aren't born with these ideas. We absorb them from our culture in the form of sexual scripts.
And these scripts aren't just polite suggestions, right? She says they provide the structure for the beliefs through which we interpret the sexual world. Like, they're the very lens we're looking through.
And let's be real, most of these lenses are filthy. She lists them. Men's sexuality is simple and women's is complex. Or, women don't have as strong a sex drive as men.
I mean, I've heard that one in comedy clubs. Women are complicated, men are, well, men. It's a classic lazy trope.
But here's the profound part. She says these scripts aren't just things we believe intellectually. They act as a template for our emotional one ring and our little monitor.
Emotional one ring? That's a bit dramatic, isn't it, Seth? A little too much Tolkien for a science book?
Maybe, but look at the point she's making. She says you can disagree with a script with your brain, but you'll still find yourself behaving according to it. It's deeper than logic.
She uses this technical term, probabilistic generative model, which sounds like something I'd hear in one of your data science lectures, Seth.
It is, but she brings it down to earth. She says your brain takes everything smells, touches, even how much you like lemons, and runs it through this filter of prior learning and your current state, like stress or self-criticism.
So, your brain is basically making a best guess about what's happening based on old, potentially garbage data.
Exactly. And that's why she uses this incredible metaphor. She compares it to maps versus terrains.
And this is the part where you have to pay attention, because this is the actual tool for the reality check we were talking about.
Right. A map is just an abstract representation. It's a simplified picture. A place does not look like the map.
This is so important. If you're trying to navigate your own body, but you're using a map that's fundamentally wrong,
then you're just lost.
And she gets even more pointed here. She says, if the map doesn't match the terrain, is the terrain wrong?
No, the map is the problem.
Exactly. The map makers made a mistake, or they lied to you, or they just copied an old broken map.
She even uses a movie reference, Blast from the Past. That character grew up in a bomb shelter, thinking the nuclear war happened in 1962. He steps out into the world and he's totally lost because his map has zero connection to the actual terrain.
And most of us are living in that bomb shelter. We're navigating our sex lives using maps that are decades, even centuries out of date.
But here is the most dangerous part of the whole book. When the map and the terrain don't match, our brains try to make the map true, forcing our experience into the shape of the map.
Wait, that's why I do that. I'll be in the middle of something, and when it doesn't feel perfect, I start thinking, no, this is the trail. The map says it should feel like this.
And you just end up stumbling through the thicket, getting frustrated and exhausted.
She gives this heart-wrenching example of a young woman who learned everything from porn. She thought orgasms would be easy, that clitoral stimulation would always make her see stars.
And when it didn't happen exactly like the video, she didn't think, oh, the video is a bad map. She thought, I must be broken.
That is so heavy. The dissonance between expectation and reality, it's enough to make anyone want to shut down.
But Nagoski brings it back to that context idea we discussed. She tells this woman, if it doesn't feel good, that just means you haven't got the right context yet. Like tickling. If someone tickles you and it doesn't feel good, it's not because you're broken. It's because the context, the mood, the closeness, the arousal isn't there yet.
That's the software update right there. Stop fixing the hardware and start adjusting the environment.
And she ends this section with this incredible story about Olivia and Patrick.
Wait, I remember Olivia. She was the one big yes person, right?
Yeah, but her yes was a bit chaotic. Her accelerator was so sensitive it was almost out of control.
But Patrick, he knew how to clear the path. He used the sensual treasure hunt idea. Toys, lube, blindfolds, even involving friends.
Okay, that sounds like a wild night, but it's actually a brilliant way to illustrate the point. No pressure, no performing, just exploring the terrain.
It's a reality check. The instruction is, slow down, stay still, don't push or pull, allow sensation to take over.
Slow down, stay still. Man, I wish I could apply that to my next tarot reading.
But it's the core of it, isn't it? The most reliable source of knowledge is your own internal experience. If the experience and the expectation don't match,
always assume the experience is right. The map is wrong. Period.
The terrain is always right. We're back, and we're moving from the theory of maps and terrains into something much more visceral. Nagoski is sharing her own history now.
And it is heavy. She starts by talking about her own medium message. She describes this ideal sexual woman she had in her head.
Let me guess, she was a goddess of pure, unadulterated passion?
Not exactly. She says she believed this woman was adventurous, noisy, and easily orgasmic from penetration. She thought the ideal woman just happened. Spontaneous desire, instant wetness, the whole works.
But look at the fine print she adds. She says, the ideal sexual woman does not necessarily enjoy a great deal of pleasure. She just appears to experience pleasure.
Wow, that is chilling.
It's performance art. She's saying she wasn't actually having sex, she was acting out a script.
And she goes even deeper, she says. By the time I started my first sexual relationship, I was a sexual product, processed and packaged for the pleasure of others.
That is so incredibly bleak. Processed and packaged, it's like she's talking about a piece of meat, not a human being.
And the most terrifying part isn't just the performance, it's the consequence. She tells a story about her first relationship with a man who later became her stalker, and she says she would dream that he was hurting her, and in the dream, she would laugh.
Jesus.
She says, I would laugh until even I didn't know if I liked being hurt.
That's the break, isn't it? When the map is so distorted that you can't even tell if you're experiencing pain or pleasure anymore, you've lost the ability to distinguish the terrain because you're so focused on playing the part.
It's like that tower card again. The structure is completely gone. There's no ground left to stand on.
But then she pivots. She starts to show how the software update actually happened for her. She was training to be a sex educator at the same time she was leaving that abusive relationship.
She describes this massive shift in her map. She says she learned that a woman's body and her pleasure belong to her and no one else.
That's the core of it, the reclaiming of agency. She realized she could say no to intercourse without saying no to everything else. The love, the play, the affection.
I love that. It's like you can close one door without locking the whole house.
And she introduces a contrast. She talks about Amelia. While Nagoski had the media message, this idea of being a high-performing, loud, adventurous, sexual being Amelia had the moral message.
Let me guess, the smart girl script?
Exactly. Smart women didn't want sex, she believed. She thought being interested in bodies was base and animalistic. That only stupid girls did that.
So her map was the exact opposite of Nagoski's. Where Nagoski was pressured to be too much, Amelia was pressured to be not enough.
So one's navigating a jungle, and the other's navigating a desert.
And yet, Nagoski says they both ended up in the same place, realizing how poorly prepared they were and learning to redraw their maps.
But wait, there's a really interesting point here about how these different messages interact with who we are. She says they are like genetically identical gardens that grow into different terrains because of the seeds and the soil.
She's saying the media message might have actually fit Nagoski's natural temperament better, and the moral message fit Amelia's.
Right? It's about how that external pressure takes root in our existing biology. One had a more sensitive accelerator, the other had more sensitive brakes.
So the software and the hardware are constantly negotiating.
Which leads us to the most important part of this section, the part that actually explains how to fix the bugs. She says that while learning the science is great, the real hard part is welcoming your sexuality as it is, without judgment or shame.
Because knowing the facts doesn't stop the shame. You can know you're normal and still feel like a failure.
She introduces this concept of the box. She says when we feel anxious, angry, or ashamed about our sexuality, we tend to put that feeling in a box and hide it deep inside.
And we think it's gone. But it's just waiting.
Exactly. It's on hold, but it's waiting to complete its cycle. It's still part of the system, still pressing on the brakes.
So what's the alternative? She suggests we don't hide the box. Instead, we treat these feelings with gentle affection, like we would toward a tearful newborn or a sad, shy kitten.
I mean, I've definitely had a tearful newborn moment with a taro spread, but applying that to your own shame, that is a massive level up.
It's the non-judging part. She cites research showing that just observing your feelings, noticing them, isn't actually the biggest predictor of well-being.
Wait, really? Just observing isn't enough?
No. The key is non-judging. The people who thrive are the ones who can have a distressing thought and say, oh, there's that thought, without labeling it as good or bad or right or wrong.
So it's not about trying to stop the uncomfortable feelings. It's about changing how you feel about the feelings.
With non-judging, it doesn't matter how you feel. What matters is how you feel about how you feel. And the most wellness-promoting way to feel is neutral.
Neutral. No drama, no judgment. Just letting the system run.
It's the patch for the software. Stop fighting the data and just start observing the process.
Let's take a breather before we start debugging our own psyches.
Yeah, because clearly your neutrality is just a fancy word for being boring, Seth.
It's called equilibrium, Paco. You should try it sometime instead of chaos.